Wilson, football coach. Environmentalist. Animal lover. Proud father. It has been a while.
Howdy, hi. It's Wilson, obviously. I probably did that silly-ass introduction again. I may do some different ones. It actually takes a few minutes to do one of those damn things. I did watch the live stream. I cleared out all the darn footage last night. I had to set an alarm clock to wake up and watch it. Oh, and on the McTusk brothers, in fact, let me make a bit and put that up front. The McTusk brothers, you can find, and I don't know if you have to regenerate for them, but you can find in summer their igloo and either decide to build close to it and have to deal with them. There's supposedly a great hat that drops if you kill them. And I don't know what the rarity of that drop is. The Krampus one's pretty disgusting, like 1%. But anyway, you can decide, find the igloo, the form of it on the ground, and decide whether to build near it or not. So, on updates and anything like that, I like to put up the information as quick as possible, just so that everybody can go ahead and use it. There will, of course, be a link to both the live stream again, and because at some point I assume it'll be up in some form. I don't want it to be nighttime. And a link to the forum post on it. You might look at some other forum posts. A lot of the threads are, I don't know, just yada yada yada. I'm unhappy about Deerclops. He's too strong, blah blah blah. And you know, that may or may not be valid, but you know what? It doesn't change the game. At this point in a new update, I'm a lot more interested in where do we go from here than I don't like this. Although I may sin and actually say some of that. One of the big problems, Riptide is the one that did it, one of the big problems he was having was he was inadequately prepared. And for example, one thing, and you know, I don't preach the way I play, but he ran completely out of grass at one point and couldn't make a torch. And he was in deep doo-doo over it. And, you know, he had like what he calls Superman powers. He could make anything in the game. They gave him the stuff that they play with when they're developing the game. So he could just make structures and, I guess, create axes from thin air and the whole bit. But a miner's hat, I don't know, it lasts. Of course, he was on winter nights, but even so, a miner's hat should last. But if you're in a world where fire, and I'm not knocking the guy at all, I'm just, he's used to a high of like about 300 viewers. He had 1,700 viewers all analyzing what he was doing. He had the, you know, name developer for the game there. And so he had like a ton of stuff going on. So, but I'm saying for anybody playing the game, I would suggest that if you're in a situation where you have to build fires and you need grass for that and you constantly need torches and might have to catch a tree on fire or whatever, that you have an alternate light source for the night if it's possible to get that by the time you experience winter. Now, he was having winter at 30 days into the game, and Kevin said it would last 20 days, and there was very little winter information in that update. They showed a lot of the McTusk thing, and they showed Deerclops, and all that's awesome, but the amount of information about what actually happens in the winter wasn't very much. Said everything stops growing, and I have to think that would include twigs and grass, but they didn't actually nail that down. All the farms, all the berries stop. So theoretically, you have to, and it's kind of funny, I've said this before after all the crap about, well, you're stockpiling too much food. You have to, if you want any kind of vegetable-y food or whatever. Now, and see, they didn't even, there was no mention of whether the bees are producing in the winter or not. And I would kind of assume one or the other based on logic, but I don't actually know, and I would have really liked to have heard the answer to that. He was also putting a lot of sticks in his food. He was doing almost all filler on every food item he made, and you burned through a lot of sticks, although that didn't seem to be a major well, it was at one point. But when you're using all your flammables and your torch ingredients as food, and you see my point. That, and if winter's coming, I would strongly, and I think all of you know this, stockpile a bunch of grass, stockpile a bunch of wood, sticks. Food is kind of up to you. If it's 20 days, a lot depends on whether they nerf honey or not, and I've heard no word that they might. Now, what the theory of the update basically on food, as far as what Kevin seemed to be saying, was you'll have to go hunting at some point. And that's totally cool. That is absolutely what I always expected. Now, there was some talk about pigs kiting you when you fight them, so you have to. I strongly suggest you watch it, because there were a few things going on here, and I'll have to watch the replay. I assume he's going to put it up as a fully recorded event. Let me go through some of this. The screen changes. You get ice formation around, watch my cursor, around the edges of your screen. It makes crackling noises. And as that proceeds to the center, you wind up with a situation where you could freeze to death. You have to periodically build a fire to warm up regardless of what you're wearing. There is a puffy vest that you get from, and he didn't do that, or he didn't in what I was watching, and I may have missed it, but there is a puffy vest, and you get it from a winter colifont. You get the winter colifont trunk, and you make it from that. Silk. For some reason, silk was a big item. But I would strongly suggest the breezy vest and the winter hat and the beefalo hat supposedly all tend to keep you warm. I don't know where. I put my razor down here because I never use it. What else? Deerclops is like, I was trying to describe him to Lord Oog, and he's if Wilson's slightly under 2 meters tall, or under, if he's about 5'10" to your Americans, then Deerclops is about, I don't know, 25 feet tall. And I assume anybody on meters could convert that. The sunlight alone doesn't increase your sanity anymore. All sanity meters have been set at 200, so it's gradually increasing over time is what they said was their intent. They said they had a lot of tests where people went insane in 3 days, and I still have kind of an issue with that. If you make a science machine and make a bedroll, or currently just get out in the sunlight, I don't know, I didn't have any problem. If you were constantly going, it's like fighting 2- and 3-tier spider nests. Well, you're going to die. If you jump through wormholes constantly, and it affects your sanity, or you attack monsters constantly and it affects your sanity, well, you're going to go insane. So, but anyway, 200 on the sanity meter. It won't go up in the daytime just from the sun by itself. You'll have to wear dapper items. Like I said, periodic building of the fires. Some of this I'll repeat. The birds are snowbirds. Deerclops has an area of effect weapon or attack, and they're saying the best thing to do is run from him. And Riptide, it wasn't, there wasn't an issue there. Also in his fighting, he had like a stack of like 20 flame darts that he was using on everything. And to me, that's kind of a situation you might not find yourself in, where you have 20 flame darts available all the time. And I've put 10 into a Spider Queen, and she kept coming. 10 flame darts. So, not my first choice of weapon against a high hit point beast. As a distraction or to aggro him, it would probably work. The snowbirds seem to drop white feathers, and I just kind of caught that on my corner of my eye. And there just weren't a lot of questions about winter, like, do the white feathers make anything? At one point, I'll swear, and you'll have to check this and find it somewhere else, because I kind of am having trouble believing it, but Riptide said that pan flutes needed a mandrake to make them now, after the update. And that would only give you like 3 to 5 pan flutes per world. So I wonder if I misheard that. Let's assume that that's a miss here until you get some kind of verification. Obviously, if I verify it, I'll let you know immediately. You'll be able to set conditions in your sandbox. The story mode will unlock various things of the conditions, like the length of winter, the length when it occurs, the length of your days and nights. As I'm sure you're aware, the days and nights are different in summer and winter. Let's see, what else? Pin gulls aren't going to be in this one. They were planned to, still are planned to jump out of the ocean, and then you have to quote unquote deal with them. Also, Wilson's beard at some length, and this is projected. Pin gulls not in this. This beard thing not in this. Might count as half a hat. They're thinking about nerfing the killer bees, cutting back on how many of them there are. There are signs on maps, evidently in the game code somewhere, where you could, like the pig villages that don't have a king so you can't see them, like putting something where you could write that on your map. And that's just, like I said, that's something they're not doing now, but it is in the game code, and it's something they're considering. There's no new character this time around. What they said they thought was that some of the characters, I believe, they think are too OP. They're thinking about nerfing Wolfgang. Willow and Wendy, they were thinking about making their powers so you could summon them, their powers, but they would have a cooldown period. And I would love that option on Abigail. To me, that would make Wendy totally playable. That would be so awesome. To me, that's not a nerf, that's a buff. Oh, back on Deerclops for a second. I don't know if any of you actually read Howard Phillips Lovecraft HPL Cthulhu in the original. I have, and that's not some kind of brag, it's just that it really matters to what I'm saying. The monsters that HPL envisioned were, humankind was absolutely nothing to them. It was like being caught in a black hole or something. They could really care less about humanity. There were cults degenerate cults that were worshiping them in ways that the gods, the old ones might not, it wasn't the old ones, I can't think of what they called them, but anyway, that they might not even be aware of. But what he said about Deerclops is you are an ant to him. And at one point he thought he'd be killed by Deerclops, and Deerclops smashed his bee box and buggered off. So, the honeycomb was laying there. That would have been my first thought. I know there was at least one board laying there. So,